Hi, in this video we're going to look at computer systems and embedded systems of a computer. Okay, so this makes up the systems architecture module of your GCSE paper. So let's get stuck in. The first thing we're going to look at is the purpose of a computer system. And the whole purpose of a computer is to take in data, to process this data, and then output the data. Okay, so something goes in, it is then processed, and it comes back out. And a computer was basically designed and created to complete a task a lot more efficiently than humans can. So they can process a lot more data, and they can process, huge amounts of data a lot more quickly than we can as humans. So we're going to look at what computers consist of. And it's broken down into two main sections. So we've got the hardware of a computer, which is the physical components that make up your computer. So as you can see here, we've got the CPU, we've got a monitor, a motherboard, and a printer. And I like to think of the hardware as the physical things you can actually touch. It's hard, you can feel it in your hand. Okay? Software, on the other hand, is the programs and applications that run on your computer system. You can't actually touch them because they're on the system. They're stored somewhere. Okay, so as you can see here, we've got our Microsoft, we've got Microsoft Word as an application, we've also got Minecraft as a game. These are all different types of applications. Now, for OCR, you only need to know about hardware and software. But for AQA, you need to know that there are two different types of software. Okay, so the two different types of software are the operating system, which is known as system software, okay, because it runs the system. And you've also got application software, which are the other programs that run. So like your games, your programs like Microsoft Word, Publisher, Excel, PowerPoint, they are all different applications. Okay, so you've got your system software and your application software. Okay, now the next one we're going to look at are the different types of computer systems. Okay, you can have many different types of computer system. As you can see here, we've got an Apple Watch, we've got a standard PC, we've got a calculator, and we've actually got a supercomputer from NASA. Now, these are all different types of computer system. And they can be classified into two categories, as you can see over here. So you've got a computer which may be general purpose, and that might be designed to perform many tasks, many sort of different programs running, hasn't got a specific purpose. So it usually is a PC, a laptop, a tablet. They are all sort of general purpose computer systems. However, you may come across something such as a dedicated system, which is designed for a specific or particular function. So it only has one or two main purposes. It doesn't need to have a lot more sort of other programs in the background. It only does one main thing. So for example, a program to control the traffic lights only needs to know is the light on red, or is it on green or amber? Is there a car approaching if it has a infrared sensor on top? But it doesn't really need to know, what car is driving up to it. All it needs to know is there one there or not? Okay. Also, you've got aeroplanes. They have got specific functions because they need to sort of manage the flight, how sort of the plane is flying. Okay. So there's general purpose, which has got many tasks, and dedicated systems, which are specific. Okay, now the next one we're going to look at is the components of a computer system. So I've briefly listed some of the components. These are not all of them. You may find more, and I've given a brief purpose. So you've got the case cooling fan, okay, and this is to basically bring all the hot air out of the computer case to keep the whole computer system cool. Now you may notice it if you've got one of those towers that sit on the floor, or in school you've got them sort of on the desk behind the computer screen, behind the monitor, sorry. You might see them there sort of whirring away, and that is usually the fan spinning that's taking away all of the hot air. We've also got the CPU. Now we're going to cover this in another video in the future. And the CPU does all the processing of the computer system. So often the CPU is referred to as the brain of the computer, but we are going to cover this in more detail later on. We've also got the CPU heatsink and the cooling fan. Now this is slightly different to the case cooling fan because the heatsink is sort of glued on top of the CPU, and because the CPU does all the processing, it gets very, very hot very quickly. So what the heatsink looks like is lots of like metal, it looks like a bit like a radiator with lots of metal bars going up, and it takes the heat away. Because metal is a conductor, it brings the heat away from the CPU and it reaches the fan on top of it, and it obviously then is sort of dispersed into the rest of the computer to then be taken out by the case cooling fan. Okay. We've then got the graphics card. This is to specialize in handling graphics and image processing, so it works similar to the CPU, except it focuses mainly on sort of graphics and images. You've then got the hard disk drive, which is an internal secondary storage. Again, we're going to look at secondary storage and memory in a future video. We've also got the motherboard. This is to connect all of the different hardware together. You've got the optical drive, which is for optical discs, so your CDs, your DVDs, your Blu-ray discs, these can all be used to read and write. They're not included in a lot of laptops and computers nowadays, I've actually noticed. So they are slowly being sort of phased out, but they are still quite commonly used. We've also got the power supply unit. This one is fairly straightforward. It supplies power to the motherboard, to all the hardware in the computer. And then finally we've got the RAM sticks, which is the main memory in a computer, which we're going to look at in a future video. Okay, now if you go onto the website, there is actually a page on all of these components with diagrams, so they've gone into a little bit more detail. Okay, now we're going to look at embedded systems next. So embedded systems are basically a small dedicated computer system that has been built into another device. So for example, a dishwasher, microwave, a TV, they all have a sort of very basic operating system, and they all have a specific sort of purpose. They don't have sort of loads of different things that you can do. They're quite limited. So for example, a dishwasher might have sort of temperatures and sort of how long it's going to be, that you know, how fast the water is going to be released, when it's going to be sort of, the soap is going to be released. There's only a certain few functions that a dishwasher can do. It's not going to tell you that there's an upgrade and it needs to do this, and then you can download the latest software. It's only going to do a certain few functions, okay? Now, embedded systems are sometimes referred to as control systems, since they control the machinery, okay? They control what goes on in these bits of hardware. And they are usually just a single task or very, very few tasks. And because they only have a single or few tasks, they're actually a lot easier to design, they are a lot cheaper to produce, and they are more efficient at doing their task because they haven't got loads of programs and things that can go wrong. It's only got one specific task, and that means because it's only got to do that one, it's only got to be programmed to do that one. Therefore, there won't be as much that's going to go wrong, hopefully. Okay, so that is the video for computer systems. I hope that has helped. We're going to look at the CPU in the next video, so have fun revising.